I died in the year he hated me the most. Unable to bear his hatred any longer, I chose to end my life. When the funeral home handed my ashes to Nathan, he patted the urn and smiled, the only smile he wore that day. She's too filthy, she deserves to have her ashes scattered to the winds. He overturned his hand, and the urn clattered to the ground. Indeed, he believed I had killed his beloved, lurking by my side for years. All for this very moment. He walked away, trampling over my ashes, only to return soon after, weeping, begging the funeral home to give me back to him. After being tormented by Nathan for a year, I finally died. I took advantage of his inattention and secretly slit my wrists in the bathtub. The blood filled the tub, just like the day I was so heartbroken after learning why he married me that I had a miscarriage. Good riddance. Nathan clapped his hands and laughed heartily, his bright eyes turning bloodshot. As he laughed, tears began to fall. I thought he must have remembered his long-lost white moonlight. 6 years ago, she died in a car accident, and her heart was transplanted into me. Nathan always believed that car accident was premeditated, convinced that I was responsible for the death of his beloved, so he deliberately got close to me, subjecting me to endless torment after our marriage. He even planned to make my entire family pay with their lives. He bided his time for years, rising from a poor boy to a prominent figure in B City. After gaining enough power to rival my family, he bared his fangs. Like a rabid dog, he relentlessly pursued every member of our Mitchell family, and today, it all comes to an end, because I died on the very night he was about to strike. Nathan was terrifyingly calm upon hearing the news of my death. He simply instructed his assistant to send me straight to the funeral home. By the time he saw me again, I had already been reduced to a handful of ashes in a small box. Give my sister back to me. Just stepped out of the funeral home entrance. My always doting older brother immediately threw a punch at Nathan's handsome face, but he was quickly subdued by security, collapsing to the ground in complete breakdown. Your sister is right here. Nathan patted the urn, then stepped on my brother's remains with his foot. She's too filthy. She deserves to have her ashes scattered to the wind. With that, he overturned the palm-sized box with a flip of his hand, sending ashes swirling into the air. I knew Nathan hated me, but I didn't realize it had already reached such a morbid state. When my ashes were scattered everywhere, I still couldn't help but cry. I genuinely loved him for 2 years, only to end up with such an outcome. Nathan's expensive leather shoes moved away from my brother, followed by an icy, mocking laugh. If you love her so much, why not have the entire Mitchell family buried with her? Turns out even after my death, he never stopped his plan to destroy the Mitchell family. My brother collapsed to the ground, his face streaked with snot and tears. You'll regret this. You'll regret it. I will never regret it. Nathan stepped on my ashes and walked out of the funeral home. My brother shed all the pride of being the eldest son of the Mitchell family, crying uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I repeated it silently in my heart 100 times. The tears just wouldn't stop flowing. I felt my ashes scattering across the mountains and forests. A small wisp fell into a stray dog's food bowl and was swallowed. Others settled on mountain streams and towering trees. The last trace clung to his lapel and the soles of his shoes, returning with him to the place we once shared. Our marital home was a villa halfway up the mountainside. When we first married, I thought he had chosen this scenic, tranquil place for my convalescence because he knew of my poor health. Until I gradually lost contact with the outside world, I only then realized this was also part of his plan. After all, I was the most beloved youngest daughter of the Mitchell family. Only by isolating me from the world could Nathan's plan achieve greater success, and his revenge would hold even more meaning. I followed behind Nathan and entered the villa's door with him. There were no servants in the villa. I took care of everything myself. He clearly hesitated for a moment when changing his shoes, then scoffed and quickly put them on. Sarah, you really died at the perfect time. I pouted and angrily followed behind him, stepping on his shadow. Nathan, that damn man, he still hates me even after I died. Nathan opened the fridge and poured himself a drink. When I put down the bottle, I caught sight of the sticky note on the fridge. Honey, I made your favorite fresh cream puffs today. Remember to eat them. The note was dated December 28th, the night before I died. Nathan's eyes darkened slightly as he crumpled the note and threw it into the trash. Didn't even glance at my cream puffs. To please him, I even shaped the cream puffs into hearts. He used to love them the most, but now he couldn't even be bothered to look. Seems liking the food I made was just another one of his tricks to deceive me. For some reason, Nathan has been in a bad mood ever since he saw that sticky note. He lay on the sofa for a long time, staring at the butterfly pendant lamp above him. If he could see supernatural things, he would probably also see me sitting on the butterfly's wings, watching him. We bought this before we got married. I loved it so much, miraculously. He also couldn't put down that butterfly pendant light. At that time, I was overjoyed that we had finally reached a consensus. Unaware that his beloved was named Freya, once during our marriage, in a fit of jealousy, I asked him about his first love. He lay on the sofa, with my head resting in the crook of his arm, staring blankly at the ceiling. He said, "My first love turned into a butterfly and flew away." My heart tightened, unleashing an even greater urge to devote myself. I kissed his eyes, comforting him over and over again. "Can I be your butterfly instead? My parents always say I'm the most cheerful person in our family. I'm sure I can make you happy." He didn't speak, just held me while trembling, pressed against my chest to listen to my heartbeat. His hands gripped me tightly, and even though it hurt, I never asked him to let go, because I mistook his suppressed hatred for being moved by me. Falling in love robs one of the ability to distinguish right from wrong. It serves me right for ending up harmed by him like this. After about an hour, Nathan finally made further plans. I don't intend to follow him, but it seems I can only stay within 1 meter of him. I'm now standing at the bathroom door, listening to the sound of running water inside. A minute later, the sound of bottles and jars falling to the ground made my hair stand on end. I flung the door open and saw Nathan with bloodshot eyes. He stared at the crimson filling the entire bathroom, his face finally twisting with emotion. My death came without warning. There was no one else in the villa. Had Nathan's assistant not returned to retrieve some documents, my death wouldn't have been discovered so quickly. From the moment I died to being reduced to ashes, it only took a dozen hours. Everyone overlooked the fact that the place where I died hadn't been cleaned up yet, so the bathroom Nathan is seeing now is practically a textbook murder scene. "Sarah," he yelled into the air. His shout nearly made my soul leave my body again. "Why so loud?" I muttered to myself. After my body went limp, I sank into the bathtub. "It's not that dirty outside, can't you just clean it yourself?" But Nathan clearly couldn't hear my muttering and showed no intention of cleaning up. He was trembling with anger, immediately grabbing his phone to call his assistant, not even noticing when the bathroom door opened. "Find me another apartment immediately, I'm moving out tomorrow." After saying that, he slammed his phone down violently, shattering it into pieces instantly. I had never seen Nathan in such a frenzied state before. That was close. I patted my non-existent heartbeat, trying hard to calm myself down. Only after Nathan left did I torment myself by crouching down to stir the bloody water in the bathtub. This was the second time I had witnessed such a scene. The first time was when I accidentally found out Nathan married me just to take revenge on me. At that time, I was in a daze and accidentally fell in the bathtub. Blood flowed everywhere, and the little life I had just learned existed was snuffed out just like that. The second time was when I committed suicide. I lost consciousness early, letting the blood flow unchecked. I never thought one day I'd witness such a tragedy with my own eyes. "Nathan," I watched his retreating figure. "If one day you learn her death wasn't because of me, would you regret this?" I spent an unbearably difficult night with Nathan in this house. The next day, he woke up early, changed his clothes, and walked to the back mountain. I heard him call his assistant and order everything here to be cleared out. He didn't want to see anything that belonged to me anymore. I don't actually think Nathan would move out of this villa, because his first love, the white moonlight who turned into a butterfly and flew away, is buried in the hills behind our villa. Freya, she's dead. Nathan crouched by the grave, his fingers gently tracing the tombstone. There's a photo on the tombstone. A sweet-looking girl smiling with vivacity and joy, yet her life was forever frozen at the age of 20. "I've finally avenged you," he murmured in a daze, then stood there lost in thought for a long time. For some reason, Nathan has been spacing out a lot lately. It's as if his entire being has been hollowed out, his soul gone. Of course, I don't think this has anything to do with me. I suspect it's just the emptiness he feels after achieving his long-sought revenge. For years, he had relied on his hatred of me to keep living. Now that I'm dead, it's only natural for him to be a bit slow to react. Nathan didn't leave the back hill until the sun began to rise. Upon returning, he didn't enter the villa but went straight to the garage, took a car, and left. When I saw the destination was a rundown residential building on the outskirts of the city, I knew what Nathan was planning to do. Following his memory, he knocked on Freya's door. Unfortunately, there was no answer. Nathan tried a few more times, and when there was still no response, he grew slightly impatient and knocked harder. This time, he managed to disturb the neighbors. "Annoying you," the neighbor's voice trailed off, staring in disbelief at this once poor young man. He now carried himself like a big boss, so the neighbor swallowed his curses. "What about this household?" Nathan asked coldly. "This family." The neighbor looked disdainful, rolling their eyes. "Used their daughter's blood money to live the good life, that's what." Nathan frowned slightly, as if he could no longer tolerate their blunt and vulgar words. "Where did they go?" "I don't know. Why are you interrogating me? Who are you?" The neighbor began sizing up Nathan with displeasure. "I'm their daughter's boyfriend." "Yo," the neighbor's eyes sparkled with gossip. "So you're the boyfriend who got completely fooled by Henderson. Too bad little Freya was born into the wrong family. Traded away by her heartless parents just like that." My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately looked at Nathan's expression. Nathan's eyes were bloodshot with rage, and after a long pause, he gritted his teeth and spat out a single word: "Deal." On the way back, Nathan drove faster than ever before. His expression was also darker than ever. I had always firmly believed that I wasn't responsible for the death of his white moonlight, but how much more was hidden beneath the surface, that I truly didn't know. Nathan sped all the way and finally stopped at the entrance of my house. The once bustling Mitchell family villa had become much more desolate. As Nathan walked in, there wasn't even a single servant in sight. "Nathan, how dare you come here?" My brother grabbed him by the collar and threw a punch. "Get out of my way." Nathan's face was as terrifying as a demon's. "I don't want to fight you today. Just tell me, where did Sarah's heart come from?" "Ha ha ha ha." "Where did it come from?" My brother laughed maniacally, throwing caution to the wind as he reminded him. "It came from your old flame, of course." After speaking, he swung his fist at Nathan again. The two grown men, eyes red with fury, wrestled with each other. I stood by helplessly, unable to intervene or pull them apart. "Stop it." A familiar voice sounded in my ear, and I almost immediately burst into tears. Father has aged a lot, and his voice carries much more weariness. He threw the surgical contract from years ago and a donation agreement I'd never seen before onto Nathan's desk. Sarah's heart was donated through legal channels. I gave the family $10 million in gratitude afterward. All the paperwork is here. Do you have any more questions? Impossible. Nathan's hands trembled as he flipped through the documents, his face growing increasingly pale. I stood nervously beside him, unsure how to face such a reversal. Innocent. Of course I was happy. But who could compensate me for the suffering of this past year? "I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Nathan lost his mind, murmuring only these words. A moment later, the phone rang at just the right time. "Nathan," the assistant across from me hesitated. We found Madam's prenatal checkup report. Only the doctor and I knew about my pregnancy." At that time, my relationship with Nathan hadn't yet broken down, and I was still madly in love with him. To maintain a sense of ceremony, I didn't tell him about it right away. I planned to give him a surprise on our first wedding anniversary, but that day, I waited alone with the cake for a long, long time, and he never came back. During the thunderstorm, his phone was completely unreachable. My heart ached with anxiety as I clutched my phone, praying for his safety. It wasn't until midnight that he finally returned, reeking of alcohol. "Freya," lying on his back on the sofa, he murmured to himself, staring fixedly at the butterfly on the ceiling. I thought he was confused, so I went up to support him. "Honey, let's go inside and rest." You're not Freya." "Of course I'm not. I'm Sarah," I whispered back to him. But my response seemed to hit a nerve. He shoved me violently, and I stumbled a few steps before collapsing onto the sofa. "Honey," Nathan had never been so rude before. I almost burst into tears, half sober. He looked at me with bleary eyes. Moments later, he collapsed heavily again, suppressing the ache in my heart. I took off his coat. Amidst his murmurs of "Freya," I saw a photo fall from the inner pocket of his coat. That was the first time I saw his white moonlight. A girl with a charming smile, looking incredibly sweet. On the back of the photo was written the promise they made in their youth: "Nathan and Freya will definitely be happy together for the rest of their lives." At that moment, I felt as if struck by lightning. Why does Nathan love butterflies? Why does he still think about them even when drunk? Simply because the person he loved was named Freya. I didn't speak out about what happened that night. The next day, I hired a detective to thoroughly investigate these matters. When I saw that the time of death for the girl named Butterfly coincided with our wedding anniversary, I finally understood what it meant to feel as if plunged into an icy abyss. That girl's entire life was held in the few thin sheets of paper in my hands. Her heart still beats within my chest. I finally lost control, collapsing onto the desk and crying my heart out. At that moment, I finally understood why Nathan had married me, when I collapsed dazed in the bathtub. I didn't even notice the blood continuously gushing out. By the time I called for help, he had already left me forever, dragging my sick body home. All I saw was Nathan sitting leisurely on the sofa. In his hand was what I had discovered, information about his lover. From that night on, Nathan dropped all pretenses. He hurled insane insults at me, locked me inside the villa, and forbade anyone from communicating with me. He confiscated my phone, and every time my father or brother called, I could only answer under his watchful gaze. He said I must atone, for I had taken the life of the one he loved. Without my knowledge, he had come to hate me so deeply that he wished for me to die without a grave. Later, he made it happen. But why? Why is he still not happy? Nathan is holding the prenatal checkup report now, trembling with rage. It states 7 weeks of pregnancy, with the fetus no bigger than a peanut sprout, barely visible in the dark ultrasound image. That's my child. I can feel his heartbeat, but Nathan can't. Why would he also feel so distressed that bean-sized tears fell onto the paper, dampening the last image of the child? Go, find the Henderson couple. Nathan gritted his teeth as he gave the order to his assistant. Perhaps he still couldn't believe the truth was so contrary to what he had firmly believed, forcing him to dig up the past to its very roots. I call this behavior of his self-inflicted suffering. The damage from the first time was already hard to make up for, yet he actually wanted to hear it a second time. What's the use of clearing my name when I'm already dead? I sat right beside him, sighing as I thought, if only he had realized it a little earlier, I would never have loved him, nor would I have walked toward death. But I know that between him and me, it was like an unsolvable riddle. There was no solution other than a fight to the death. The Henderson couple hadn't gone far. They bought a villa in another city and lived the life of nouveau riches. When Nathan came knocking, they were too terrified to even breathe. I want an explanation about Freya's heart donation 2 years ago. Nathan gnashed his teeth in anger. The Henderson couple's faces darkened, likely realizing that Nathan's visit meant he had discovered something. That girl should consider it an honor to contribute to the family. A sharp slap rang out. A chair was thrown at Freya's father. Nathan seemed to have gone mad, relentlessly striking him as if his own life didn't matter. She's your daughter. She's your daughter. I stood by, watching coldly. Nathan himself came from a humble background, but he was a boy. He didn't know that in some people's hearts, a daughter was less valuable than a few 100,000 or even 1 million. Nathan smashed the Henderson family to pieces, under threats and bribes. They finally revealed the whole truth from years ago. The Henderson family was impoverished, with 1 daughter and 1 son. The 2 children were close in age, both at the age where they needed to attend school. On one occasion, when the couple left the hospital, they happened to overhear the doctor worrying about my situation. Thus, an idea struck them, and they faked Freya's car accident. Through an intermediary, her heart was donated to me, securing my father's compensation of tens of millions, with the truth finally coming to light. Nathan dragged his exhausted body back to the villa on the mountainside. This time, he could no longer remain composed. The villa was nearly emptied, with all traces of my existence completely erased. He lay back on the sofa, with only that butterfly chandelier barely able to evoke his memories. In truth, after learning the truth, we had once shared days of love and hate intertwined. He would grit his teeth at me, yet offer comfort when I was hurt. I couldn't quite grasp his state of mind. So I remained cautious all along, twisted, yet desperately continuing to be his wife. And now, I feel my body gradually fading away. Perhaps it was my deep obsession that allowed me to linger. Now that my innocence has been cleared, all my obsessions are gone, and naturally, I shouldn't exist anymore. Tomorrow will be my 7th day after death. I hope tonight will be the last night I stay by his side, the last night. As if nothing had happened, Nathan went to take a shower as usual. While I sat not far away, fiddling with a pot of flowers I loved most when I was alive, Sarah, I suddenly heard him call me. My body froze for a moment, and I only relaxed when no second call came. Nathan forgot to bring his clothes. In the past, I would have brought them to him as soon as he called. along with replying with a sweet, "Hubby." Now, only the empty air responds to him. I didn't push open that door. Standing sullenly at the entrance, I knew his calling my name was just a withdrawal effect. When someone has grown accustomed to another's presence for a long time, losing it suddenly makes them feel utterly uncomfortable. The name that slipped from his lips was merely a symbol. He didn't truly wish to see me. After coming to this realization, I spent my time tending to my plants. If Nathan were to come out now and see the plants trembling without any wind, he'd probably think the place was haunted. That's fine, I thought. I could still scare him. But even after an hour, he still hadn't come out. I grew a little impatient, and after holding back for a long time, I finally pushed the door open. He lay in the bathtub with his eyes closed, as if asleep, more like dead. Standing beside him with mixed emotions, I debated whether to watch him die or call the police, but unexpectedly, he opened his eyes. "Who's there?" he shouted towards the door. Taking a shower in a house where someone had died, the bathroom door suddenly opened. It looked exactly like a scene from a horror movie, but Nathan showed no fear at all and even called out my name. I stood awkwardly to the side, relieved that he couldn't see me. My gaze wandered aimlessly, only to catch sight of the hair tie I'd left in the bathroom before my death, now tightly clutched in his hand. The mountain forest was windy at night, and a sudden gust blew in, bringing a chill with it. Even I, a being without physical form, couldn't help but feel my scalp tingle. Nathan seemed to snap out of it. He didn't call out again. Silently, he wrapped himself in his bathrobe and returned to his room. As usual, Nathan would heat a glass of milk before bed. This task had always been my responsibility. He had already settled into bed, but past the usual time for his milk, the warm drink still hadn't arrived. I watched helplessly as he irritably threw off the covers and stormed into the kitchen, making a loud clattering noise. Then he came back holding a cup of slightly yellowed milk. Nathan is so silly. He even managed to scorch the milk. After saying that, I felt sad again. The first time I heated milk, I burned it too, but Nathan didn't mind at all and drank the whole pot. He even said it was caramel-flavored milk. Beaming with joy, I exchanged a caramel-flavored kiss with him, determined to be happy with him for a lifetime. The past is too painful to recall. I walked out of the room in silence. Not long after, a crisp sound came from the room, and I hurried back in panic to see what had happened. In the few minutes I was gone, Nathan threw some kind of tantrum. He smashed a glass of milk onto the floor. The cashmere rug was soaked, and the glass rolled clattering under the bed. What a terrible temper. This is how I evaluate it. Nathan took a while to calm down. His heaving chest finally settling, he condescended to squat down. Lying on the ground to pick up the cup, his slender fingers kept fumbling around, but instead of finding the cup, they touched a rectangular box. My heart instantly leaped into my throat. No, I kept pulling at his hand, but it was of no use at all. "Don't look, let my secret remain an eternal secret," I screamed, but he couldn't hear me. When he yanked out that tattered box, I knew it. I was done for. Nathan frowned as he opened the box. The first thing he pulled out was a half-knitted baby garment. We didn't have any cats or dogs at home, so it must have been for my unborn child. At that time, I had just found out I was pregnant and excitedly bought some yarn to learn how to knit sweaters by following online bloggers. Though my knitting was crooked and uneven, I enthusiastically managed to knit a little blue butterfly. I thought Nathan would surely like it too. I just never expected that in less than a month, my beautiful dream would shatter. Nathan already knows about my past pregnancy, and his reaction wasn't particularly strong. He just tightly clutched that little garment. During the time he was feigning affection with me, he once mentioned looking forward to the fruit of our love. I wonder what he feels now when he sees it. I nervously waited for his reaction, but unfortunately, he didn't show much emotion. He simply remained silent, then let go and neatly folded it. He continued flipping through, finding several basketball game tickets stacked inside the box. On them, his photo was printed. He froze for a moment, taking out each one to examine different dates. But I never missed a single game he participated in. I've never told him about this. During university, I watched many of his matches. Wearing the purple and white number 7 jersey, he was the tallest and most handsome on the entire field. Back then, I had quite the crush on him. That's why I was so quickly won over by him when we reunited. Fool, Nathan scoffed and tossed the ticket stub aside. I admit I was indeed quite foolish, otherwise I wouldn't have been deceived by him for so long. Is Nathan not being foolish then? Otherwise, what does his behavior amount to? Is it really clever to painstakingly uncover my secret crush on him like peeling off layers of silk? He continued flipping through, and when he came across a letter, the mocking expression on his face completely vanished, and my heart, too, rose to its highest peak. It was a letter in a pink envelope. A piece of my unspoken sincerity from over a decade ago. He held his breath and tore it open quickly, his hands trembling uncontrollably. I thought he might remember, because he hated pink the most, and yet I deliberately went against his preference by sending him a pink letter, together with Nathan. I saw the letter my teenage self had written to him. Nathan probably didn't know that I had noticed him back in middle school. At that time, I was doted on by my parents, just an ordinary chubby kid. Though he came from a poor family, he excelled academically. With his striking good looks, he had always been popular among many. Young people never care about social status matching, so I became just one of the many who really liked him. I had a crush on him for 3 years, and finally mustered the courage to stop him on his way home after graduation. At that time, I handed him that pink love letter, hoping he would consider me. He just chuckled lightly and told me to go away. I stubbornly insisted on giving him the letter. He frowned as he took it, then threw it into the trash can. He walked away nonchalantly, and when I chased after him, I saw a girl take his hand. So he already had a girlfriend. All the courage I had mustered up vanished completely from that moment on. The letter that was never sent was also retrieved by me from the trash bin. Later, I suffered a heart attack and nearly died. Yet at the age of 20, I received his first love's heart in a transplant and was given a new life. A love letter from years past is nothing significant, merely a youthful regret. Nathan's hands trembled as he sealed it back up, pretending he had never seen it. I was filled with unbearable regret. I should have burned them all before I died. Why did I have to leave behind such humiliating things? Even in death, he showed little reaction, making me seem even more like a fool. I awkwardly walked out and curled up on the sofa. Nathan didn't sleep that night either. At midnight, he pushed open the door, picked up the trench coat from that day, and walked out. I had no choice but to go out with him again in the middle of the night. I only found out in the car that it was his friend who had invited him out for drinks. Nathan is quite a rare sight. As soon as we entered the private room, his friend teased him with a smile. Back when we got married, I didn't like him going to such places, so I always threw a tantrum to make him come home. Because of this incident, I didn't leave a very good impression on his friends. Nathan didn't say a word, grabbing a glass of alcohol and downing it in one go, earning cheers from the crowd. Nathan, you're a legend. Doesn't your wife mind today? They probably still haven't heard the news of my death. Joking around without a care, I quietly observed Nathan's expression from the shadows. I noticed he set down his glass as if nothing had happened, even managing to curl a faint smile. Why bring her up? She's still angry and hasn't been appeased yet. Watching him lie without batting an eye, I finally understood how he'd achieved such success at such a young age. He could have easily brushed it off by saying she was dead and not to mention her again, sparing himself the teasing that followed, but he just wouldn't say it. So when his friends pressed him later, it nearly turned into an awkward situation. Even though your wife keeps a tight leash on you, no one can deny how good she is to you. Take my advice. Couples fight and make up. Just go back, apologize, and everything will be as it was before. All right, she wouldn't listen. How is that possible? His friend retorted, but fell silent upon seeing his expression. Nathan said nothing more, and his friend didn't press further. The two drank in silence until a drunken man stumbled over and asked, "Hey Nathan, the ring your wife ordered from my wife has been ready for ages. She never came to pick it up, and we couldn't reach her. I brought it with me today. Could you take it back for her?" A golden brocade box was placed in front of Nathan. His blurred eyes struggled to focus before he irritably grabbed the box and opened it. Inside lay a pair of exquisite diamond rings, their patterns shaped like butterfly wings. I designed them myself. Consider myself lucky to still see them even after death. The original wedding rings between us had been thrown away during an argument, and we never got them replaced. After much deliberation, I ended up designing one myself. Little did I expect to see the physical version under such circumstances. The two rings reflected colorful lights amidst the revelry, and I couldn't help but reach out to touch them, only to find I couldn't grasp their solid form. "Nathan, what's wrong with you?" someone asked cautiously. Nathan suddenly stood up and kicked the wine table as if venting his anger. Ignoring everyone's calls, he left the place, Nathan was rummaging through boxes and cabinets looking for something. And I sat there watching him for 15 minutes, actually. There wasn't much rummaging to speak of, since the contents had basically been cleared out. Assistant Jack, where are the things that were in the cabinet? Nathan bombarded the guy with calls at 3 in the morning. The assistant, still groggy from sleep, replied to him, Nathan, you said you wanted this place cleared out, with just one sentence. Nathan calmed down again. The assistant came inexplicably and left just as inexplicably. Nathan completely collapsed onto the floor, staring blankly at the 2 diamond rings. Impossible. Sarah, don't think you can affect me even after death. He pinned a huge blame on me. Furious, I thought about his insane behavior and suddenly felt weak all over. I really wanted to know what he was actually searching for, but I couldn't bring myself to speak, so I just sat on the floor with him. He seemed to have lost his senses, staring at the 2 diamond rings as if trying to see flowers in them. After a long while, as if suddenly remembering something, he abruptly rushed to the kitchen. The things in the fridge hadn't been dealt with yet. The puff pastry I shaped into a heart was stuffed in the farthest corner. Even without tasting it, I knew it had expired. The heart shape was no longer recognizable, and the cream gave off a sour smell. Yet Nathan seemed completely unaware. He stuffed the puffs into his mouth in large bites. When he couldn't swallow any more, he rushed to the sink and vomited them out. I stood by, utterly shocked and dumbfounded. Then I heard him call my name with a fierce, ruthless tone. Sarah, you are not allowed to die. I never imagined that the mindless afterlife literature I read online could actually become reality. In the middle of the night, Nathan ran to a garbage dump. A billionaire CEO, looking like a beggar, rummaged through the trash with his subordinates. He said he was looking for 2 rings, 3-carat diamonds, engraved with my name and his, from the description. It's our wedding ring. During one of our arguments, we threw it into the pond by the door. I don't know when he retrieved it and put it back. Nathan found it. The staff member acted as if they'd found a lifeline, presenting it to Nathan. Nathan's hands trembled as he held it. I gritted my teeth and blew a breath. He didn't hold it steady, and the ring rolled into the sewer. No, he went mad, forcibly pulling at the sewer's protective grate just to retrieve it. I was utterly dumbfounded. I'm already gone. What's the point of him pretending to be devoted? That night, news of Nathan causing a scene at the landfill spread everywhere, but he paid no attention to it, clutching the ring as he drifted into sleep. At this moment, less than 12 hours remained before I would leave this world. At 9 o'clock the next morning, just as the funeral home opened, Nathan appeared at the door, with long strides. He walked toward the director who was unlocking the entrance. I told her I've already forgiven her. The curator was baffled, but professionalism kept him from making a fool's face expression, forcing him to maintain a polite smile instead. Who are you talking about? Where is Sarah? He grabbed the museum director by the collar with force, perhaps because the incident of him scattering the ashes was too shocking. The director remembered the name quite clearly. Ms. Sarah was cremated on the 29th of last month. I already handed her ashes to you. Impossible. She's not dead at all. Nathan's eyes were wide with fury as he demanded the funeral home give me back to him. I watched from the side, laughing to myself. In just a few more hours, even my soul would vanish, yet here he was still demanding the funeral home return me to him. The farce ended with the intervention of security personnel. Nathan began wandering aimlessly again. Eventually, he wandered back home. I can hardly imagine what he's feeling or thinking right now. What makes you think I'm not dead? I only feel myself growing lighter, so light that just a gust of wind could carry me away. Nathan paced restlessly around the house, calling my name in every corner. After receiving no response, he started smashing things left and right. Only when there was nothing left to break did he snap out of it. He made a call to his assistant, and the request he made had me cursing him for being out of his mind. Otherwise, why would he ask his assistant to find him a reliable Taoist priest as quickly as possible? The person he wanted arrived quickly. I heard this Taoist priest was truly remarkable. He could communicate between the realms of yin and yang and even speak with me. As soon as he entered, he began waving his horsetail whisk around Nathan's body. The ridiculous part was that I was standing right beside him, yet he completely failed to see me. What kind of Taoist is this, young friend? There is an old acquaintance accompanying you by your side. Nathan's expression darkened. I nervously stopped in my tracks. However, she refuses to see you, and there's nothing this old man can do about it. This old geezer really knows me. Why won't she see me? She still has unfinished business. In just a few questions and answers. The old man had completely figured out my thoughts, so clearly that I almost thought he was a spy sent by my brother. Nathan stopped speaking. It wasn't until the old Taoist left that he instructed his assistant to fully restore the Mitchell family's businesses. This is truly a tremendous surprise for me. If I owe anyone an apology, it must be my family. Now that my long-cherished wish has been fulfilled, I can leave in peace. There's less than an hour left. I've accomplished all my long-cherished wishes. By then, should be able to disappear, leaving this world. The fortunate ones may still be reincarnated, starting a new cycle of life. I look forward to this day, and hope I never encounter someone like Nathan again in this lifetime. This death is more acceptable than the last one. I could even happily bid farewell to all the flowers and plants one by one. Nathan had just finished a phone call with my brother, and they were arguing fiercely. But at least everything was finally settled. My brother insisted on burying me in the family's ancestral grave. Nathan said he was dreaming. Even if I died, I'd still be his. I let them argue, because I was already scattered across the mountains and forests. No matter how powerful they were, they couldn't possibly gather my ashes back, speck by speck. It didn't matter where I was buried. What mattered was that I was finally free. I happily sat on the sofa with my legs crossed, quietly waiting for my next death. I even leaned on the table while drinking tea, completely unaware that Nathan's gaze had shifted from confusion to shock. I fiddled with the little teapot, about to give it a squeeze, when unexpectedly, someone grabbed my hand. Sarah. I turned my head in shock, seeing my hand manifest into solid form. I stared at myself in disbelief, and at Nathan, who was gripping my hand tightly. That Taoist priest really knows his stuff. When my long-cherished wish was fulfilled, Nathan actually saw me. He hugged me frantically, with such force as if he truly wanted to crush me into his body. Sarah, you're back. Don't go. Please don't leave. Although I had already guessed that his feelings for me had changed, I was still stunned for a long time when the word, love, came from his lips. How dare you say you love me? I pushed him away. But I don't love you anymore. Nathan froze, his bright eyes brimming with tears. So he could cry too. Turns out when he cries, he looks no different from me, both with eyes brimming like opened floodgates, tears gushing forth endlessly. This was the first time I'd ever seen him cry. No surprise. It's also the last time. I'm already dead. I reminded him mercilessly. No, you're not. You came back. He remained stubbornly unrepentant, gripping my hand and breaking down in tears before me. He said he loved me, that he never wanted me to die. He wanted revenge on my entire family, yet couldn't bear the thought of things ending like this between us. He confessed he had long fallen in love with me, but was too afraid to admit it. Love and hate are separated by just a glance, and the hate is over. Then there is only endless love. I just let him hold me, saying nothing. Nathan cried for a long, long time, and there was less than 2 minutes left before I disappeared. He pulled out the custom ring I had made from who knows where, tears in his eyes as he begged me. I've received the ring, let me put it on you. Okay. Faced with his vulnerability, I realized I still couldn't bring myself to ignore him. After a few seconds of thought, I readily agreed. Sure. With a smile, I extended my hand, offering my gentlest expression. Nathan sniffled slightly, pressing a light kiss on my hand before making any other move. His trembling hands slid the ring onto my finger, just a hair's breadth away from reaching the base, but my body could hold on no longer. Goodbye, Nathan, I whispered in his ear. Don't. He lunged forward abruptly, and I, smiling, dissolved into nothingness before him. The ring gleamed brightly as it fell onto the floor. Sarah. Nathan was crying his heart out, no longer the confident and spirited man he once was. He lunged forward recklessly, undeterred even by the cliff's edge. Fortunately, the bodyguard acted swiftly, preventing a tragedy. I know he will never be able to forget me again, though it doesn't matter. I only hope he can treat my family well with the guilt he feels for me. I have completely vanished from this world, following the wind, the rivers, the rain, to travel around this world. From now on, wherever I go, everyone can leave their own mark. When we were in love, I told him I wanted to travel the world, but I never imagined I'd have to wait until after death to fulfill that dream one by one. At the very last moment, I heard him say he loved me again. I heard it, but I didn't respond. I just smiled, turning into a wisp of breeze. That wisp of wind brushed past Nathan's fingertips. My final farewell to him. Don't die. I love you, he muttered like a madman at the edge of the cliff. It turns out, this was also the year he loved me the most. Too bad, I was already dead. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.